Let me ask you a question. Would you rather get shredded super fast or be shredded forever? Most people pick fast, and that's exactly why they fail. Here's why. 99% of people who lose weight rapidly gain it all back within 2 years plus more. But what if I told you there's a way to get lean that only is a little bit slower than the quick fixes that you're chasing, but it guarantees that you're going to have the results for the rest of your life? I've helped over 1,251 people transform their bodies, get elite transformations, and I've discovered something crazy important. Successful transformations follow a specific sequence that cannot be skipped. So I'm going to give you the exact step-by-step framework that I've used to take my clients from literally any body fat percentage to single-digit body fat. The kind of leanness where your veins start to pop, your abs start to show, you feel amazing in your skin. First, let's talk about the biggest transformation mistake. The number one mistake that people make is trying to jump from point A to point Z right away. You literally cannot go from 40% body fat to 8% body fat directly. It's not possible. Your body has biological defense mechanisms that's going to force you to fail if you even try to make that jump. Instead, it needs to be sequential. It needs to be a systematic approach that really creates permanent changes. So let's walk you through the exact stages. From high 30s to low 30s, this is the foundations. So if you're starting in this point where you're high 30s, even 40s, here's something you need to know. You're probably not doing that much right now, which is actually good news. Small changes right now is going to create massive results in this phase. So this is your exact action plan. You're going to aim to walk 3 times 30 minutes a week. That's all you need to do. This is going to allow you to burn 900 to 1200 extra calories per week. This is going to put you in a slight calorie deficit. More importantly, this is going to improve other aspects. Your cardiovascular system, you're going to feel better about yourself, your mental health. There's other evidence around improving insulin sensitivity, especially if you're struggling with blood sugars. It's going to require zero recovery. It's unlike high intensity workout training where sometimes you can dread it. And on top of that, what you're going to do is you're going to half your alcohol consumption. Most people don't actually realize that alcohol in itself has 7 calories per gram compared to protein and carbs, which only has 4 calories per gram. So by cutting out alcohol in half, it creates a 1,000 plus calorie weekly deficit. And this is going to cause you to have literally no hunger. Oftentimes people overindulge when they drink alcohol. They don't even realize that they're actually eating so much because of their intoxicated state. On top of this, you can implement strategic meal timings. Eating every 3 hours, having smaller meals. This is going to help you regulate your blood sugar. And more importantly, it's going to halve your hunger cravings. Create natural portion sizes. That way you can actually allow yourself to manage your calories without counting calories. This is a super easy process that's helped a ton of people move from that high 30s, even 40s, to low 30s, maybe even higher 20s in about 45 days. Pretty good. For stage number 2, if you want to go from low 30s to high 20s, this is kind of like when you're starting to build a little bit of momentum. Once you hit the low 30s, you're going to leverage this, okay? There's a little bit more precision that I want you to implement. Number 1 is extend your walks to 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Still try to walk 3 times a week. It's really, really good for you. But then from here, this is going to create an additional 500 plus calorie weekly deficit. Awesome. Other aspects is trying to eliminate the obvious junk food. Focus on food you know are problems, such as fried food, sweets, just for now. More importantly, don't try to be perfect. Just cut this by about 80%. If you can do that alone, that's going to help you reduce your caloric intake by 3,500 to 5,000 weekly calories. It's really, really good. From this stage, you're going to cut your alcohol by half again. So that means compared to your original consumption, you're now intaking only 25% of that. This is going to reduce your caloric intake, but it's also going to allow you to preserve your social life. Other aspects that you're going to notice is your sleep quality is going to increase like crazy. You're going to recover better, you're going to sleep better. That means if you're sleeping better, you're not going to get as hungry throughout the day, you're not going to be as tired. Then from here, you can start to implement 2 weekly full body strength training routines. Just target the major muscle groups, squats, deadlift, bench. 30 to 45-minute sessions, all you really need to do. This is going to allow you to build a little bit more muscle mass, which is going to increase your metabolic rate. It's really, really good. From here, think about adding more protein, a little bit more fiber. So add even 20 to 30 grams of protein every single meal. This might include snacks. From here, you can add 1 cup of vegetables to at least 3 meals every single day. This combination is going to really reduce your hunger levels by like 50, 60, 80%. This phase usually takes up around 45 days to 60 days, but that's how you're going to get down to the high 20s. So now you're in the high 20s. This is stage 3. This is where people start to really notice your transformation. They're going to be like, man, your clothes are fitting better. You're going to feel better. So let's capitalize on this. From here, you're going to increase your strength training to 3 times every single week. Follow a full body split. This is allowing you for maximum efficiency. Focus now on progressive overload. So that means you can either increase your reps every single week or add a little bit of weight every single week. This is really going to start to increase your muscle mass. If you increase your muscle mass, your basal metabolic rate, your metabolism will start to speed up. It's a really, 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 really good thing. This is like investing into your body, guys. From here, you're going to start to allocate a little bit more into cardio, but it's going to be a lot more strategic. You're going to increase the intensity just a little bit, but you reduce your cardio sessions all the way down to only 1. So that means you only have 1 60-minute steady state cardio session where you're aiming for maybe 60 to 75% of your heart rate max. This targets most people's specific fat burning zone without stressing any sort of central nervous system or hormone stuff. Now we can start to modify the foods. So by implementing food swaps, you can potentially replace cooking methods. So instead of frying your food, you can start to bake your food, air fryer. You can start to swap condiments. So mustard instead of mayo. This is going to save you 80 to 120 calories per serving. You can use flavor enhancers, spices, hot sauce, instead of really calorie dense options. Now this is my favorite. You can implement the 1/3 plate method. So 1/3 of your plate is going to be lean protein. So about 20 to 40 grams. 2/3 of the remainder is going to be some sort of fibrous vegetables. The remaining portion can be starchy carbohydrates. This is naturally going to create a 400 to 600 calorie deficit per meal without counting, and it's super easy to follow. You're going to do this for about 30 days, and then from here, you're going to be literally just sub 20%. Once you're at the sub 20%, something like that, this is the stage 4. This is kind of like our breakthrough phase. This is where strategic training really becomes critical. You're going to aim to follow a 3 to 4x weekly structured strength training protocol, right? Follow a specific split. Full body training split is still required. A lot of our clients still do that. But now you're going to focus on hypertrophy. Focus on 6 to 12 rep range for optimal muscle growth. This is really going to really speed up your metabolic rate by even 10 to 15% at rest. But this is literally a hack because now you're not doing anything and you start to burn calories. From here, keep your cardio the exact same. But now we want to have a little bit more precision in our nutrition. Something that you're going to really consider is selecting leaner protein options compared to the more fattier options. So for instance, 93% lean versus 80% ground beef saves about 100 calories. You can start to choose higher fiber carbohydrates such as sweet potato versus white bread. You can even consider timing now. Time your starchy carbs around workouts for optimal nutrition partitioning. This phase typically takes the client 60 to 90 days, but this is really going to create massive visual transformations, guys. Right now you're in stage 5. So you're going to get from the teens to like the low teens, the defining sculpting phase. The difference between 18% body fat and 12% body fat is entirely about nutrition now. You're going to implement a few things, but these are all very strategic. You can still have cheat meals, but we're going to replace the naming. You're going to replace the actual cheat meals with specific cheat foods. Then you're going to limit this 3 to 4 times per week. You're always going to follow the protein first rule. That means consume protein before any sort of indulgence. Timing could also be really, really helpful for a lot of people, where you can have higher carb days on your training days and lower carb days on your rest days. This approach maximizes fat loss while maintaining performance. Now, supplement is actually pretty necessary in the form of protein powder. Protein powder between meals really prevents muscle breakdown, and oftentimes most people do not get enough protein. You can even have pre-workout, which will increase the intensity of strength training. Caffeine in itself is actually thermogenic in nature. That means it can help you actually lose a little bit more body fat. But this entire phase here is really going to be about nutrition. So now you're in the last stage. This is like the elite level where we get all our clients to sub 10% body fat or just around 10%. The difference between 15% body fat and 8% body fat really comes down to one thing: consistency. You want to turn this process into an autopilot system where you don't really need to think about anything. Your workout doesn't actually change all that much. Your meal plan doesn't really change all that much as well. What actually changes is consistency. The 8% body fat guy doesn't eat that much differently than the 12% body fat guy or even 15% body fat guy. He just doesn't miss. He has things completely dialed. It's like part of his identity. But here are 5 critical habits that someone who is sub 10% body fat will continuously do. They're gonna have protein with every single meal. There's absolutely no exception. There's gonna be vegetables with 90% of his meals. Cheat foods are really gonna be limited to 1 to 2 times per week. You're never gonna miss workouts. You're gonna optimize your sleep, so at least 7 to 8 hours every single night. But more importantly, you make a really big identity change. There's gonna be times where you just don't feel like working out, where you're not motivated, but you do it anyways because it's important to you. You draw that line in the sand, you step over it, and you become that person. The reason why this framework works and what makes this approach different is that it meets you exactly where you're currently at and gives you precise next step, not just the final destination. A lot of the time, fitness advice focuses on the end results, like go track calories. So for someone who's maybe like 40% body fat, that's a really big jump. But if you follow this step-by-step roadmap, it's going to 100% get you there. However, the question is, will you actually commit to the process? You can have the best plan in the entire world, but if you don't implement it, nothing's going to change. When I was working at the UFC, there'd be 30 to 40 fighters every single week that have to compete. They get paid to show up if they make weight, and they get paid if they win. But why is it that not every single fighter doesn't make weight? Like, why is it there's some fighters that miss? The reason why isn't because of the system. It's always up to the individual. The system itself is a system, it's framework, it's evidence-based, there's data. So it's always, always, always up to the fighter. Most people here try to skip steps. They rush the entire process. They want to jump from point A to point Z without enjoying the journey in between. Those who follow this framework as outlined, they take each step in as sequences, they achieve a level of leanness they never thought was possible, and more importantly, they maintain it for life. The roadmap is all here for you. The steps are super clear. All that's left is for you to begin. The power is now in your hands, guys. And if you'd like a little bit of help implementing this system, check our link in our bio for our coaching program. Aside from that, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and check out more videos right here. See you guys.